What's up, y'all? This is Mike Manzer with another Manzer Faust Productions video. And I know I promised this yesterday, but I was feeling a bit under the weather. Wasn't up to the conditions I need to be able to sit here in front of a camera and talk to y'all. But today, feeling much better. Got in my stretches and everything I need to do in the morning, and gonna do another episode of Stop, Watch, and Listen. Gonna talk about uh, the partner label package I got in the mail prior to the Vinegar Syndrome package. For those of you unaware, a lot of the Vinegar Syndrome packages, I was finding out from other people as well that this was happening, kind of got split up. Might have been they switched over to a new kind of shipping, um, all these different kind of changes internally. Obviously, the new site being launched for the adult titles. Um, there might have been a bit of a computer mishap on that front, but I did talk to some people I know through Vinegar Syndrome's shipping and through the archive, and they have already started working on getting all of these bugs worked out. And yeah, so we'll see if this continues into next month. But that's why I didn't have like an official unboxing and all that. And I had yesterday's video, which was focused on August's Vinegar Syndrome package. Uh, so yeah, and I didn't want to do a video about the Melusine, the adult titles, just because I don't really feel like there's a lot to say about those, and YouTube puritanical problems notwithstanding. So I didn't want to dive into those, on here. And also, there are a lot of random titles I grab just because they're going out of print and they have them up cheap. So, actually commenting on a lot of them would be kind of difficult for me, and actually like evolving on them aside from, oh, here's some, adult title, from 75, how do I go beyond that? So that would be kind of difficult. So I'm not really going to focus on those quite yet. If I get some of the newer releases from some of the partner labels associated with that, I will discuss those most likely. So, yeah, and also on Saturday, Friday, is it Friday or Saturday? Anyway, this past weekend I did stop at Static Era in Milford, Connecticut, and picked up some good records. Got a couple of punk and metal records, and also got a couple of more mainstream kind of stuff that I've always enjoyed and been after for a bit. So yeah, we got 4 movies and 4 records, so this works out splendidly. So getting into it, I want to start off with some Culture Shock titles. Now, Culture Shock recently announced that they're leaving the OCN, uh, which is Vinegar Syndrome's distribution for their partner labels and also their main titles. Uh, so a lot of their titles are going out of print on the site. They've been reduced in cost, so I've been kind of going back and getting a few titles that I don't already have. There's like 2 or 3 that I still need to grab, but they still have a good amount of stock left on a lot of these, so I'm not in too much of a rush to pick them up. But I got a couple of titles here that came in the package, and I really enjoyed these, so I'm really getting into digging into Culture Shock. They took me a minute. There was a few titles in there where I was kind of underwhelmed, but I find that they're really great at releasing the more low budget, kind of genre fare, micro budget. There's some shot on video movies released through them. Stuff by Donald Farmer. Um, so yeah, you got a lot of variety throughout, but it has a certain kind of vibe to a lot of it. Very regional a lot of times, and yeah. just that spirit of like blue collar, micro budget filmmaking runs throughout the label, and I respect that a lot. I like seeing people that don't have a ton just doing everything they can to make something huge on very little budgets. So, uh, first movie I want to talk about is Game of Survival. Again, just they're also great at these slipcases. I feel like all the partner labels are doing really well at their, you know, limited slips. So, definite shout out for that. Got that nice cover image. Um, so, Game of Survival is a film from '89. Sort of a mashup of Terminator, a little bit of Predator, uh, all taking place in like a massive city, sort of post-apocalyptic, I would imagine. But these are all like kind of this alien warrior comes down to Earth and is trying to escape. He's being hunted by rival gang of alien warriors, and it's just very cool what they're able to do with the scenery and extras and everything like that. He's kind of playing off this fish out of water, doesn't understand the world, but just trying to navigate. And he does a good job at that. The enemy characters are a lot of fun. You got, like the 80s bondage dressed punk rocker kind of characters. You got these giant, bodybuilder kind of guys. And it's basically just him going one by one through all these different characters and trying to escape, just very cool, and it's got a great aesthetic. Even though it's shot on a low budget, the film looks very nice. There's a lot of good cinematography going on. That you really use the locations excellent. The acting is very, very good for what it is. I will say, it's not too. There's a couple of goofy quotes in there, but it does serve the tone and the actual like kind of atmosphere of the film. So, yeah, some cool special features as well. You got a couple of interesting interviews, and you got a really nice music video for Municipal Waste that I believe is directed by the director of this. And it's fun to get those extra little things on here. So yeah. Game of Survival, would definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and if you like that kind of, Predator style sci-fi stuff, you'll definitely enjoy it. Up next, we got a David A. Pryor film from '91. So early '90s, David Pryor is pretty well into his peak. Around the time he was doing stuff like Deadly Prey and a lot of the classics that people will call back to. And I like a lot of David Pryor. I gotta dig deeper into his filmography. I really love Sledgehammer, for what it is. I think it's a very great atmospheric early shot on video classic for sure. And here we got Raw Nerve. Again, just really nice packaging. And yeah, this has an insane cast. We got Jan Michael Vincent, Tracy Lords, Glenn Ford, Tex Cobb. Very cool. So this is about a kind of race car driver, drag racer kind of guy who starts having these visions, kind of like a little bit of a Dead Zone kind of thing, where he has these visions of people getting killed, and you can kind of predict these crimes either like kind of in progress or about to take place. He's very protective of his younger sister, played by Tracy Lords, and just off the bat, I really didn't mind Tracy Lords' performance in this. I thought she was pretty decent. She doesn't have a shit ton of screen time. They use her very sparingly, which I enjoy. I'm not the biggest fan of Tracy Lords. I could get into the political thing, and how she. Mm, Anyway, she's a controversial figure, but when she's able to pull off a really good performance, I gotta you know shed light on it. And it's not great. She's definitely playing a similar character to what you're used to, but she does a pretty fair job, and um, plays off a lot of these crazy characters throughout this very well. Um, so yeah, you got him trying to, you know, call out a lot of these like visions that he's having. He's trying to sort through what's actually going on. What do they all mean? And then he actually tries to work with, the police force about it, and they don't want to hear anything about it. Um, they have their own, you know, people on the case and stuff. That's where Jan Michael Vincent comes in as a very well done, like kind of corrupt, cop kind of character. His friend, um, they call him Uncle. I don't know if they're actually related. I can't remember if they're actually related or if he's just like kind of a family friend. Uh, he's There's like a bit of a twist in this movie that he's directly involved in this kind of spree of violence happening. Um, you know, Tracy Lord's character, his younger sister, is attacked, and you have a mistaken identity kind of thing happening with that. Just an interesting kind of film that goes in a lot of different twists and turns. A little bit higher budget than something like Gamer Survival, but you definitely see a very like workman, blue collar kind of style to this film. And I did enjoy it a lot. The twists are fun. The plot moves along fairly well. The acting is pretty solid. So yeah, definitely up there with a lot of good David Pryor stuff. Like I said, I need to dig more into his filmography. So definitely looking forward to doing that. And yeah, this was definitely a great watch. Raw Nerve from '91. And yeah, moving from micro budget to pretty much no budget, gonna dig into some SOV films. These are two I got off of VHS Shitfest, whatever you want to call it. Who's been really doing some interesting stuff lately. I have not picked up their first title, The Corn Shucker, which looks awesome. They have a couple of copies on the site and in stock at archives, so I'll pick it up pretty soon probably. Uh, but all the other titles I've really enjoyed. I really liked Blood Hunger. Really cool play on the vampire genre, and I wasn't big on Satan's Menagerie. It just kind of came and went. Wasn't bad. Just didn't really do anything for me. It was very low budget. It looked like it was shot on like a camera you would buy at like Sears for nothing. So yeah, that one didn't really do it for me, but I'm still really interested in a lot of what they've been releasing, and this release was awesome. I enjoyed this immensely. That is Justice Ninja Style. Very cool. I love that artwork as well. You got the nice, looks like it came right off the VHS copy cover image. This is from, I believe, 87, 88. It does not say 86, maybe. So Justice Ninja Style is this regional shot on video film focusing around a guy who comes to town. He's like, not a native, but he comes to town to kind of teach this like martial arts self defense kind of class, and these cops pull this woman over, and she her car breaks down or something. And it's implied that one of these cops is sexually harassing this woman on a regular basis, just trying to get with her all the time and being very creepy about it. And she gets confrontational. Her friend goes off to try to get gas or something, but she gets confrontational, and the cop, the main cop, hits her with his nightstick, and she dies. So you got the assistant cop who's like, threatened by him, and you gotta, you know not tell anybody about this, we need to cover this up. And as they're debating this, the person who's in town to uh, be a karate teacher is walking by, and I guess they recognize him, and they're like, I'm having trouble figuring out how to properly wield this nightstick. And so he takes it and he shows them a couple of moves and stuff. And really, it's just a con. So they get his fingerprints, so they're able to cuff him and hold him in jail, uh, so that he gets the blame for this murder. And are pretty able to convince the friend of the girl who was murdered, who comes back, that he is indeed the killer, and they had to fight him off and cuff him after he killed her, and all this other kind of stuff. So, they hold him in jail, and as they're holding him in jail, there's a kind of a ninja kind of figure coming through and fighting these cops, and like defending people trying to get this guy out of jail. And once he gets out of jail, um, keeps on like helping him throughout these fights. Very cool. Him and his like friend are able to partner up, and eventually they recruit the friend of the girl who was killed to help them out. She's also the daughter of a senator or a mayor, or some kind of political figure throughout the community. So yeah, there's a lot of controversy about that throughout the film. Um, so yeah, but it's a lot of fun. The guy playing the ninja is kind of the centerpiece of this film, and this release. His name is what is it? Ron D. White, and there's actually two documentaries on this disc. Uh, One of them is an old like VHS tape, I believe, that he released, called like "How to Be a Ninja," and it's one of those like, I see you're interested in the old, ancient way of martial arts, talking directly to the camera kind of thing. But it's fun. And then there's a full length documentary about his history. The Ninja Speaks, I believe. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear him talk about his history and like going through training, how he came to be in this film, and his kind of like life after this film. And he still does demonstrations with different organizations, and still like trains and stuff like that. It's a very interesting kind of character. And yeah, and he's great to watch throughout this film. Like, it does feel authentic. It's very well choreographed. A lot of these like SOV films and exploitation films in general, you got that feel sometimes of just they're just fucking goofing off. Just like trying to imitate moves from like old kung fu films that they don't really understand and they don't really know how to pull off. Very sloppy kind of stuff. You don't get that with this film. This film, um, you definitely get a great amount of awesome, you know, karate and kung fu work and everything like that. And the ninja stuff feels authentic, and they're very respectful to the history of the ninjas, and the kind of political background and spiritual background and everything like that. It's very respectful, and I enjoy watching that a lot. The acting's a bit wonky. You know, it has to be expected with a shot on video, very regional kind of film. Um, you know, there's a lot of plot lines that feel kind of forced, a lot of character motivation that just seems like irrational. But yeah, I feel like it works very well for what it's trying to do. And if you enjoy, you know, good martial arts films, you will definitely enjoy this because the choreography seems authentic and is coming from a person that has a history of doing really cool stuff. So yeah, and it's great to dig into the documentaries and learn more about that history. Just very fun. Um, you know, you know what's gonna happen right from the get go, but you know it's an enjoyable romp, and yeah, uh, just this ninja style. And this last one is not quite a shot on video film. It is shot on video, I believe, or like different formats throughout. This is a documentary I've known about for a very long time, and I feel like I've talked about in the past different VHS style documentaries that came up after this. This was, I believe, like the first one to really blow up. A lot of them just kind of have a condescending kind of approach to VHS collectors, like, oh, they're just these hipsters kind of living in the past, and um, kind of makes fun of them in a way, I feel, with a lot of these, or it more focuses on, you know, like the corporate end of things. And a lot of them just feel like the same. They get the same kind of talking heads. A lot of the people that show up in this show up in everything else. There, one I'd like to mention is one that was released by Troma called VHS Massacre, which isn't really that great. With a lot of Troma documentaries, you can definitely feel like a cash-in kind of vibe, and that one just felt like they were just trying to capitalize on the success of this film and also rewind this, which really wasn't that great in my opinion, but it really did like open the door for a whole genre of these. And just like I've said in the past with a lot of like vinyl documentaries, how that became a giant thing after I Need That Record and a few others that were coming out of the UK at the time. I think like this VHS kind of thing was a bit like manufactured, and just a lot of the things they're saying in this film are kind of prophetic on how like a lot of these films would later on get these releases. And um, you know, it is very ahead of its time in that way, but I do feel like there is a lot of people trying to capitalize on this kind of documentary and just doing it very wrong. So but this, without a doubt, is probably the best of this style of documentary about VHS collecting. And this release is amazingly definitive and, you know, perfect for a VHS collector as myself. You know, it really does, like, kind of, like, encourage a lot of this kind of, you know, obsession. And you can learn from people, you know, how they collect, how they organize, and how they're able to before the internet, you know, it was probably very difficult to find a lot of this stuff. And even in early internet, you know, there wasn't a lot of places to go. That, you know, this was seen as a dead format. You know, you could get them at like Goodwill a lot of times for like $1. People selling them, you know, people would talk about getting like really rare titles and not spending anything on them, you know. And like, you know, after this film came out, obviously a lot of stuff shot up in price, stuff that was already way up in price um, went up even more. So yeah, I mean, a lot of you probably know this documentary, but I should probably say the title already. That is Adjust Your Tracking. This is from 2014, I think it was officially released. Um, and I didn't remember that this was actually done by the people who are behind VHS Hit Fest. I believe it started off as kind of like a YouTube kind of channel. Get some light on that. I like this kind of like instruction manual on how to install your VCR kind of aesthetic. You got the classic original image on the front. This has a lot of great a lot of great interviews with a lot of great collectors. Like seeing these guys like passion for VHS and like how they're able to collect and what they focus on and how they display their collection, all this kind of stuff is a lot of fun. And at the time when this came out, that was kind of unheard of. You might have had a couple of people showing off on YouTube, but like what I'm doing now, this whole like Blu-ray community, VHS community, vinyl community kind of stuff was very like kind of niche, more so than it is now. It was much more like just kind of, it just wasn't as big of a, you know, genre of content on YouTube as it is, by this point. Um, but yeah, so like seeing a lot of this stuff is, it's very primitive, but also, it's very, like I said, prophetic to what would come later, people showing off this kind of stuff and how to set up a collection and like display and everything like that. You get a couple of young people in this. You got some young kid who was 14, I believe, when they made this film, and he later on went to become a filmmaker and everything. Really, what sold this for me is the amount of supplement features on this. Now, this is 2 discs, and I have hours of interviews with the filmmakers, back in the day and currently. You have a lot of extended interviews, which is very cool. You have some follow up features on a lot of the collectors interviewed. The extended interviews is kind of cool because some of them go really long and you can go really deep. There's people who open up like VHS stores, video stores in their basement, and going more into detail about like their day to day kind of practices and how they're able to, like, even if it's not like a functioning store, a lot of them have plans to open it as a functioning store and stuff. It's just very interesting. There's a decent interview with James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, on here. It's not that long, so it's pretty consumable. Um, a lot of great stuff with one of my favorite YouTubers, 42nd Street Pete, a kind of legend in a lot of different VHS and, just kind of the grindhouse circuit, the kind of rediscovery of that. I knew him from a lot of old podcasts back in the day. And he's definitely interesting to listen to, talk about this kind of stuff. What probably my favorite thing on here is the hours of features. It's called like tapes, I believe. And what that does is like it actually has interview segments with the people featured in this film, but they're talking about specific parts of their collection, like their favorite tapes. And some of them are, a bit short, 30 minutes or so. Some of them go on for like an hour or so. Like they're really getting into like the depths of their collection and really talking about some great titles and, some stuff that might still not be as well known. So like it's really cool to kind of, and seeing a lot of like original tapes is awesome for somebody like me who might not even get access to these kind of things, with the kind of budgets and um, the kind of prices these things demand nowadays. Every once in a while there might be like some rare SOV that shows up at the archive, but it's usually well over $200. So I'm not able to grab that. Um, a lot of this stuff will go like online way before they're sending it to like, a brick and mortar kind of store. So you just don't see this stuff. So seeing somebody open it up and talk about it and talk about their history and their love for this film and the format and everything like that is awesome. That's what I want out of a documentary, not something that talks down to you and kind of insults you. Another great documentary recently that does kind of a similar kind of treatment to gesture tracking is Mail or Murder from Saturn's Core. I adore that documentary because it does treat the people within it with a ton of respect and gives them all the time in the world to like tell these great stories, and really gives you a different context into like a style of filmmaking that is pretty much unknown to a lot of people. I'll talk about that in a video coming out very soon when I talk about Saturn's Core. So seeing that was very cool. And then the last bit that was really fun to see is they actually go to, now this is back in 2014, 2012. This is a while ago that they were doing these kind of shop tours of actual VHS stores. Obviously, you've had a few come up in the last few years. You have a couple that, weren't readily featured, like Best Video over in Hamden near me. But, they got a lot of the important ones. And Best Video has been slowly transitioning out of VHS pretty much since I've been going there. But, those are very cool, seeing these, like, great VHS stores out in, like, the West Coast and stuff that I might not be able to visit and stuff. It's just awesome. I love this kind of stuff. So, yeah, highly recommend. If anything, out of all of this video, this is probably the one I recommend the highest. And then next up would probably be Justice Ninja Style, just because I had so much fun with these films, but also the features on these really do like sell it. A lot of these partner labels are doing amazing jobs with their special features and the packaging and everything. The whole thing makes it so worth it to pick up a lot of these titles and really to get into collecting these labels. And that's why I love places like Vinegar Syndrome and OCN for really putting this stuff out there and, making film lovers out of, novices, and, giving people access to great art and great cinema that, they might not be able to otherwise. So, yeah, Gesture Tracking, amazing, amazing release. And hats off to VHS Hit Fest for just killing it. Like I said, I might not enjoy everything they've released, but man, they're doing such great work. And hats off to them for sure. So yeah, I still have vinyl to talk about. So let's get into that. I went to Static Era in Milford, as I stated, and it's been a while since I popped in there. I haven't had a lot of free money lately with the Vinegar Syndrome purchases, as you've probably seen on this channel. And yeah, you do what you can. We all have our own purchasing rituals and stuff, I guess you could call it. But I wanted to stop in there. It's been a while. I usually, on my long walks, I pass by there anyway, and I really like how they do their store. It has a good hangout vibe. Like, I definitely try to buy something if I'm in there. Like, I feel really guilty if I go in there and I just bullshit and don't buy anything. Like, what the fuck am I doing? You need to support these, like, businesses, or they're just gonna fucking disappear. And to me, like, it's really important to support guys like Jay running this store and just like doing everything they can to get like vinyl into the hands of these people in a community that might not have an option of that. You got Merle's Record Rack in Orange, and I'm not big on him. I don't go to him for records, and really, it's not a slight against him. Really, I've always said he's really great at what he does with equipment. Like if you go in that shop, he's got a ton of like old 8-track machine and decks and tape decks, and he's great at restorations. I've hung out with a lot of people that have told me about his great restorations of old turntables and uh, tape decks and everything like that. He does amazing work on that front. He just doesn't understand fucking vinyl, the selling it and how to use these different avenues we got like Discogs and stuff. He kind of abuses a lot of them, and shopping for records at his place is not very enjoyable for a variety of reasons. But Static Era Jay knows his shit. He's been in this for a long time, and a lot of respect for him. And he really knows how to run a great business. He gets a lot of great records of all varying genres, and you can have a conversation with the people working there, and as you shop, you find out about new records coming out. We talk about shows coming up. We talk about like a lot of different things. And it really has that feeling of a community, which I feel like some places have lost. A lot of places they don't want to talk to you. I really love Red Scroll, but going there is more of an event. I'm more laser focused and going through like the hundreds of crates of records that they got there. So, I'm not having a conversation. There's a lot of people in there usually. Static Area, you can really like manage to have like really cool kind of, you know, geek out conversations about music of all sorts. Um, you know, throwback kind of shows, and it's just like, and you get a lot of different types of people that come through there. A lot of the regulars are kind of cool people. You got a lot of history of record collecting, and you can bounce off each other of different presses and different, records that they've been looking at or they've been after. You can make up some cool deals. One of the records I was able to pick up, actually, I'll pull that one to the front. Uh, they got a guy that comes through there every once in a while who I've really enjoyed talking to. He runs a label called Crime Spree. A lot of great stuff coming out through that label. The Dare to Forgive tape, it was excellent. The band Princess released a tape through them as well. Haven't picked that up yet, but I really enjoy that band. I saw them play the last weekend of Wham Leg, and they tore the roof off. If you want to find that, it's on Hate 56's profile. But he had a box of I guess they were like, his kind of distro items and, some of his old copies of stuff. And when I saw this, I was like, this has to come home with me. And, I asked him for a price, and he gave me like a really like kind of cheap price, but it makes sense when you see the condition of the sleeve, even though I don't really mind it at all. Like compared to a lot of records that I've picked up throughout the years, like the condition of this is almost like VG. Just if you want to be honest, which he was, it's a little bit beat from age, but just this is one of my favorite albums, and it's kind of hard to find a copy that isn't some like modern day Newbury Comics press and that kind of thing. So yeah, this is Group Sex by the Circle Jerks, their first album, Frontier Records. This is a repress from I believe the late '80s. Solid record. No more than like 17 minutes, I'd say. Real fast, standard stuff. I love everything that Keith Morris does. One of my favorite hardcore vocalists. Obviously, started out with Black Flag. You get some carryover song from Black Flag on this with Wasted, kind of an upped, like more aggressive, faster version of Wasted. I prefer the Circle Jerks version of that. very much so. It's just a very fun record. I just want some Skank, Beverly Hills, uh, World Up My Ass, Paid Vacation, Live Fast, Die Young, uh, Group Sex, Red Tape. Like just some real anthems, some real rippers. Very silly, kind of satirical lyrics, scatological at times, and just some of them have not aged well. Operation, just people could take that the wrong way for sure, and so, but I love it, and this is a great release. And like I said, the cover's got somewhere you got that little bit of like paint stain, the spine. There's no breaks, there's no splits, no seam splits, nothing like that, and the record is perfect. Like it sounds great. It plays very well. I was just really thrilled to get this copy. And it's, a reissue, but it's a very early reissue. These 80s reissues do sound very cool. And they do have that age to them that I enjoy in buying records. So yeah, I was really thrilled to get this. Real good price. And yeah, it was, gave me the opportunity to dig through this guy's kind of distro collection, and he's got some really cool stuff. So next time I'm in there, definitely have to see if he's dropped off some more. Good dude. Happy to get this. Jay also got like a massive amount. He gets really great used collections. A lot of them he's going back and forth a billion times to pick up everything, but this is one I've been after for a while, and I guess he got a lot of great, like, old, like, metal records and a lot of that kind of shit. So, yeah, that was really fun, and he says he's got more coming in, so that's exciting. And I remember Red Scroll had this for a minute, but it sold out pretty quickly. They had it pretty cheap, but this wasn't bad. And it's, is a record I love, and it's a band I'm huge on, like, as far as this early German metal kind of stuff before, Creator and the whole thrash, Teutonic thrash kind of explosion later on. This was a band that was just like really huge for a lot of that kind of stuff. Would be really big in like the early thrash kind of like influence with bands like Venom and Motorhead and so on. But you can really pair them up with another German band, the Scorpions, where, they do have a lot of crossover appeal. And this band, just like Scorpions, has a lot of big, kind of hits, under their belt. And that's Accept with Metal Hurt from 1985. I fucking love this record. It's just really good, fist bumping metal. I believe this is after Balls to the Wall, so they already had like a shit ton of success. That was a big song all over MTV. It's a great song. I think Balls to the Wall really kills it. Like that's one of my favorite early 80s, kind of anthems. They also got Restless and Wild, Fast as a Shark, which was featured in Demons, famously, like one of the coolest scenes in Demons. Like I love Accept. Breaker is a really great album as well. This one's fun. The first song, Metal Heart, has this really great kind of sci-fi like robot kind of vibe to it, talking about like like the robot takeover and their kind of war with the humans and everything like that. And it's got a great reinterpretation of I believe I think it's Requiem. It's definitely like a classical piece that the guitarist rips out during the solo. And dude, every time I hear it, the hairs stand up on the back of my neck. It's got a nice like choir, like oh kind of effect behind it and everything like that. Very cool. Like that opening song sells the record. I love Midnight Mover, more of like a radio, like sing along, like anthemic kind of thing, real fist bumping. Wrong is Right is a lot of fun. Screaming for a Love Bite, kind of a goofy title, but I love it. It's got an amazing chorus. Uh, yeah. Um, Living for Tonight is a lot of fun, and Teach Us to Survive is really good. So yeah, I love this record, and like I said, I've been after it for a minute, so it's cool to finally get a copy of it, and it sounds fantastic. And I love the little things like having the promo sticker, and it's great. It's still in the shrink, and it's just a great record. So I'm thrilled to have that. And then on to the more pop material kind of stuff. And this is a band I have been obsessed with the last few years. And I saw they had this copy for a while, but finally got to pick it up this time. And that is Duran Duran with Seven and the Ragged Tiger, their third album. This is awesome record. Like this. Duran Duran has got a great discography. I really love their first album, Rio, the one before this, obviously. Notorious is really good as well. They kind of fall off a little later on, when a bit too much in the pop dance kind of realms, and a lot of those records just don't really do it for me. Um, but you know, you can't deny how good this record is, how catchy it is, how great the songwriting is. What's great about Duran Duran is like they come off as like a very boy band kind of, with the girls all screaming in the front row, and they're very like coiffed and like they come off as like pretty boy kind of pop band, but man, these guys can fucking play. Like the musicianship on this is just as good as any metal record you've ever heard. They're heavy. There's a lot of darkness to them. Stuff like Union of the Snake and Eyes of a Stranger, um, Crime and Passion. Like a lot of these songs, you got that kind of darkness to it and a little bit of like kind of seediness to it. I really love that. New Moon on Monday is such a great anthem. Really cool atmosphere to that track. Cracks in the Pavement is really good. The Reflex is obviously like a classic of like early like kind of new wave kind of stuff. Just yeah, a lot of anthems on here, a lot of really memorable songs, great choruses, and amazing songwriting. Lyrically, these are very deep, uh, very vulnerable at times. You wouldn't think like these guys would have this kind of honesty and like kind of upfrontness about vulnerability in these tracks, but man, they really pull it off. And this band just has some great tunes throughout their career. And yeah, this is probably my favorite of their LPs. It's either this or the self-titled debut. Just very cool. Happy to have this. And I've actually picked up a couple of the single, 12-inch single versions of songs on this record. And those are a lot of fun too. The extended 12-inch remixes of them are really cool. I like that kind of thing. They really do jam those out very well on those records. So awesome. Happy to have that. And the last one, been trying to catch up on this artist, this group, as of late. Somehow, like I only had like a greatest hits compilation in the past, but I've really been coming across a lot of these, and a lot of their '80s material is just solid. That's Blondie. This is Parallel Lines. I don't remember. I think this is like second or third LP, and this has a lot of really great recognizable songs. Hanging on the Telephone, One Way or Another, Heart of Glass, which is like one of my favorite kind of disco kind of songs. I have like a love for those kind of what people would call the sellout disco songs on these records. Like I'll Still Defend Miss You by Rolling Stones, probably like one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. And I really think like Some Girls is the last great Rolling Stones record before like Tattoo You, and they basically re-recorded that record 900 times. Um, so this is a lot of fun, like you got a lot of recognizable songs on here for sure, but a lot of that deep cuts. Picture This, I Know But I Don't Know, Sunday Girl, pretty good. Um, just great pop and great early new wave. It's got a very like early 80s aesthetic. Is this 80 78? So like yeah, this is still like 70s, like disco's just still boiling over at the time, maybe just dying off. But Heart of Glass fits in with that perfectly. It's such a great song. The composition, her voice, like Debbie Harry's got one of my all-time favorite voices of all in music. Not just female vocalist, whatever you want to call it. She's just such an extreme talent. Her kind of like worship of these old 50s songs, but with a real like glamour kind of style to it. She really did kind of open the door to a lot of like female rockers, but also like people like oh God, why am I drawing blanks here? I'm fucking up. Like Madonna and the kind of more late '80s like pop kind of explosions that would happen. And but these are just such great songs. Like throughout her career, like this band would just kill it, and the musicians behind her are all fantastic. They deserve just as much praise as she does for her great voice and songwriting. Just aesthetically, just so good. Yeah, just an all around fun album. Great listen. A lot of great songs. The songwriting's really solid. Once again, yeah, Blondie, Parallel Lines. Happy to finally pick that up, and put a little bit more of like I still got quite a bit of Blondie to pick up, but finding them is definitely not a bad thing. So yeah, that's kind of my stop, watch, and listen for this time around. Later on in the week, I'm gonna have a getting to know your partner label episodes, and I'm just gonna ruin it. Saturn's Core. I'm doing Saturn's Core this month. Really excited because it will finally give me an opportunity to dig into some real great like shot on video stuff. Down the line, I want to try to do kind of like a shot on video kind of focused thing, like stuff that I think should make it to Blu-ray, or you should get a bigger release that I've checked out. Talk about some real great releases that aren't on like partner labels. But yeah, so I'm excited to do that Sirens Core video. But yeah, if you saw anything in this video you want to comment on, put that down in the comments. If you have some cool partner label recommendations that you picked up this month or picked up in the past, that you think people are sleeping on, definitely talk about those. If you have any thoughts on the movies I did talk about, say you hate a couple of them, put them down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about that, because I know there is debate over a couple of these. I know Gamer Survival people go back and forth on. There's some people who really do not like that movie. I don't get it, but yeah. But yeah, that's what the conversation's all about. Like and subscribe, obviously. Subscribers has been good. Steadily. Lose one or two randomly. I don't know what that's all about, but people stop paying attention. It's like it's fine. The people who are here every video and do talk in the comments and like, and we talk on Instagram and stuff. You're all fucking great. I love all of you, and my fellow creators here showing off great records and great movies. That's what it's all about, man. The conversation. Let's keep that going. If you want to follow me on social media, my Instagram is the Hordes of Manzerfaust. And yeah, that'll about do it. So this is Mike Manzer with another Manzerfaust Productions video. Stay fucking metal.